YouTube can be complicated. There's so much information, so many new terms to learn, and if that wasn't enough, there's a lot of conflicting advice. It's enough to turn a new YouTuber into someone that tried YouTube once. And I feel that. I was almost that someone until I came up with a system to simplify YouTube so I knew what to focus on. Because if I didn't, I'd be too overwhelmed to get anything done. And now I'd like to share that system with you. Before I joined vidIQ, I was a pretty consistent viewer. I actually watched all the YouTube advice channels, and at some point, all the information I was taking in, it got to be too much. I felt like everything that I would learn, I would forget something else. And so I decided that I would write down everything that I thought was important, and after a couple months of that, I was finally able to make YouTube easier for myself by condensing all that information down into just 2 things to focus on. And once I did that, I just felt better. Everything just felt easier, and I felt like I could do this. Now, these 2 things, they can't work without each other, so stick around to the second, because if you don't, everything you learn about the first will be useless. But once you know how to do these 2 things, everything about YouTube after that becomes a walk in the park. So yeah, let's simplify YouTube. Starting with focus, number 1.
My strategy for thumbnails is really elaborate. I work on thumbnails for like 3 months in advance. I have a think tank and I obsess over them. I make them myself.
You do them before you do the video?
Oh yeah, by far. We don't even film a video unless we have ABC thumbnails planned out.
What I do on this channel is that we really think about the title and thumbnail first, and only when we can think of a really nice title and thumbnail for a video do we then even consider what the video outline is going to be or think about writing the video.
Most don't understand like just how important the title and thumbnail is. You almost have to like every day like sit in a corner and go, the title and thumbnail matters more than you think, and tell yourself that 10 times, because it seems so insignificant until you like really think about it, and you're like, at the end of the day, if they don't click, they don't watch. You can make the best content ever, but if they don't click, you're dead.
Yeah.
Most big YouTubers use the same workflow because at some point in their individual YouTube journeys, they all figured out the one strategy that gets the most attention. When they have a video idea, they put together a title and thumbnail to make sure the idea is clickable. And if they can't get a good package together, then they just won't film it at all. And I know that's kind of depressing, but they understand that if a video doesn't get clicked, it doesn't get watched. So how do you know your idea is clickable? That is the question we need to answer. That's the question I never see answered. That's the one we're gonna answer. How can you package your video like the pros? Lately, we've been doing these thumbnail review live streams, and I always begin the streams by saying the 3 things a thumbnail needs to do to be clickable. So I'm gonna quickly cover those without going too much into design detail because there's plenty of tutorials out there. And then I'm gonna tack on one last piece of advice that I find myself saying a lot in these live streams, and that one's the important one. So the 3 things that a thumbnail needs to do to be clickable are catch the eye, convey the idea, and create curiosity. So the first one, catch the eye. This can be done in many different ways, but I'd say a really good first step would just be to go find some thumbnails that you like and try to remake them. Because during that process, you're gonna learn a lot of the basics. Just get really good at remaking them. And if you don't know one already, pick a software. Canva is free and it's really easy to use. You can make more impressive stuff with their paid version, which has AI tools, which I did a tutorial on. If you want to do more advanced, you could do Photoshop. If the price tag is going to catch you up there, then there's Photopea, which I tried the other day and I already knew how to use it. Like, it is dead on like Photoshop. So yeah, there are plenty of options. Just try them out and see which one works for you. Now, once you have a little bit of know-how, I would suggest learning more about color, composition, and contrast. Those 3 things have plenty of tutorials out there and they'll definitely help you catch the eye. The second goal of a clickable thumbnail is to convey the idea. Now, imagery is important here. You don't want to throw a cat into a thumbnail for a video about not cats. All right, so here is one of my favorite thumbnails, and I want to see if you can guess what this video is about in 2 seconds, okay? And if you can, let me know in the comments. All right, ready? Again. Time's up. I'm willing to bet that you understood that just fine, and if you did, like I said, back me up in the comments. But if you didn't, that's okay. There's no need to be embarrassed. We all understand things at different speeds. But just know that 2 seconds is way more time than somebody's gonna give you when they're scrolling through YouTube. So getting your point across fast, it's important. Also, I just wanna point out that in this paperclip thumbnail, the text is big and bold. It's not fancy, it's clear, and it's understandable. And I find myself repeating that a lot in these live streams. Okay, the third thing that a thumbnail does to be clickable is creates curiosity. Now, this is where I want to bring titles into the mix because curiosity isn't only accomplished by the thumbnail. It's the combination of the two that often creates the curiosity. It's the package. For example, what creates curiosity here? Well, the picture caught my eye. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But then I read the title and I was like, what? A map for my inner child? What? What does that mean? Curiosity. Another example. I gotta be honest, that one didn't need a title. I was gonna click it anyway, but it did create curiosity. Psychology is a bit of a B word to grasp. So I found that the easiest way for me to understand how to create curiosity is by taking little screen caps of the videos that I click on. And I won't really think about it right then, but later, when I'm trying to create curiosity for my videos, I'll go back to the folder with all those screen caps and I'll ask myself, why did I click on that? There's a reason that you click on these videos, and if you try to dissect that, you'll probably find some really powerful techniques to create curiosity for your videos. All right. The other piece of advice that I find myself saying a lot on these thumbnail review live streams is when you don't know what will work for your idea, then a quick search on YouTube always helps. Got a video about gardening? Then, I don't know, let's search it on YouTube. And what do you see? Looks like imagery of plants or vegetables, then you and a couple words works just fine. Are you in the Lego niche? Well, it looks like you might want to try yellow and blue as your main colors and then maybe experiment with white outlines. Now, that's cool and all, but what nobody ever seems to talk about is what if your idea just doesn't work? Well, let me tell you a story about a guy named me. So I recently put out a video on my personal channel. It was about a product that I bought from Amazon 2 years ago that I love, but now it's breaking and I can't find it on Amazon anywhere anymore. So I thought that maybe a funeral burial type thumbnail where I was burying an Amazon box combined with the title saying goodbye to the best $50 I'd ever spent would create enough curiosity. The questions that it could bring up would be like, what is so good for $50? Or should I be looking for this thing? Or maybe, is John stupid? So I put a ton of time into this POV shot of me burying an Amazon box while holding a shovel, and I made a few variations of it. It just didn't work the way that I thought it would. But I did save it, and I'll show you how I did that, but first I want to show you what went wrong with this one. So here's the thumbnail. And here are the other versions of the thumbnail. I switched them all out to see if the views might pick up, if one kind of was more recognizable than another, but nothing. I thought maybe the Amazon box with the little smiley swoopy thing would be recognizable. I thought maybe the cool angle with a bunch of saturated color would work, but nothing did, really. Then I decided to go with another idea I had, just to see if it would work. In the beginning of my video, I talk about losing sleep, so I quickly searched around YouTube for videos related to sleep, just to see what works for that topic, and I found one. This one. So I quickly sketched out the idea I had with that composition, then I took a few pictures, and I threw the thumbnail together, and I paired it with a new title, the new title being, Will I Ever Sleep Again? And sure enough, as soon as I put that out there, my click-through ratio went from 0.3% to 11.1%. And the point is, you don't have to stick to your niche to get ideas. You can get them from anywhere, be it your video topic or something that happens in your video or nothing related to your video at all. Getting concepts from packaging that you like and then making it yours, that's art. Taking inspiration from others, that's art. It especially works with titles too. Taking a solid title and then taking the keywords and removing them and replacing them with words that make sense for your video. It's a solid strategy. Oh, one more thing. For channels like Let's Plays, I often give the advice that you probably want to feature something that happens in your video. And I know you're not going to know what that is until you film it. But once you film it, you know the subject or whatever happens that you want to feature on your thumbnail, then you can get inspiration from channels like Doug, Markiplier, or Jacksepticeye. Alright, that about wraps it up for focus number 1. All of the advice that you've heard so far all aims to achieve the same goal, which is why focus number 1 is called get attention. There is one more thing I want you to consider about getting attention, and that is autoplay. When a viewer scrolls over it on their phone or hovers over it on desktop, to some it might be muted, to others it might not be, but I'd like for you to think, how can you make the first 5 seconds of your video super engaging? And that doesn't mean packing everything that you know about editing into that first 5 seconds. It means showing the viewer something that they don't often see. For me, I started with an interesting angle where like you see a box in the foreground and the shovel in the back. Gox did sort of the same thing, but his was like a top-down angle. Another solid example is Mr. Beast and his drone shots, or even Adam Savage slapping a fish onto a tank of some sort. I have no idea, but it got me to click. So be creative. Anyway, we're moving on. I think you get the idea, and I think you're gonna master it. So focus number 1, get attention. You had a good idea, you made a good thumbnail, you paired it with a good title, and you made a good first visual impression. Now, it's time to make good on your promise, which brings us to focus number 2. In a world full of advertisements and clickbait, truth doesn't come easy, but trust doesn't come easy. So now that the viewer has clicked on your video, they're gonna need a little bit of reassurance that they're not wasting their time. Now, there are right ways to do this, but before we get there, I wanna show you an example of a wrong way I saw somebody do this. Now, I don't wanna call them out specifically, so I just remade the situation as accurately as possible, but I replaced the topic and I replaced the creator with myself. Here is what I saw. All right, the video is the best thumbnail tool is. He got my attention, he opened up a question, and I wanted to know the answer to that. But when I clicked, here's what I saw. The best thumbnail tool is Photoshop. Okay. No need to stick around, I guess. Did he fulfill the promise? He did. He answered the question I wanted to know, but he answered it in like 3 seconds. And I'm sure he had some valuable things to say, but when you answer a viewer's question that quickly, they're probably gonna assume that the answer is just that simple. And they also will probably assume that they know what you're gonna say in the rest of the video, which was the case when I clicked the real video. When there are a million more videos that the viewer wants to watch, and they have no more open questions, then they're not gonna stick around and listen, regardless of the amount of value you're offering. And if your goal is to provide value, then you need to know how to keep the viewer's attention. So what could he have done differently? Well, all he had to do was make it clear that this video is about thumbnail tools, show some software, and then assure the viewer that by the end, they're gonna know which software is best and why. Something like this. I've been designing thumbnails for 7 years, and out of every software that I've used, there is one that reigns supreme. So today, I'm gonna explain what that software is, why it's the best, and why the rest can't keep up. Let's do this. So that's one way to go, but what about other types of channels, like entertainment channels? Let's take a look at this example from Mark Rober.
This guy took a package from my porch, and now he's about to open it in his car, but what he doesn't know is this is a custom-built bait package that is recording him on 4 different cameras, and it's about to unleash a pound of the world's finest glitter, along with some other surprises. But to understand how he got to this point, first, we need to rewind a bit.
Mark could have easily shown the results straight away, but instead, he showed a few clips of what the video had to offer, and then he jumped back in his story and started from the beginning. So to a viewer, they see a thief on the porch, they click, and the promise is met immediately by,
this guy took a package from my porch.
And then, right after that, Mark hooks the viewer with clips of what's to come. Now, here's an example from a channel that I love, doing something you shouldn't do if you want to keep attention, but if you do it right, you can keep even more attention.
We wanted to see what would happen if thermite went through the top, and we found out it escalated faster than we should have done. Everything we did was wrong. We're 100% in the wrong.
So they immediately met the expectation that was set by the packaging. You got 80 pounds of thermite versus car, and then you open it up and you see a burnt up car. But that's the problem, because when the viewer was clicking, they were wondering, I wonder what the car looked like after 80 pounds of thermite. And then they immediately know when they click. But here's what they did right. They show cop lights, and then you hear one of them say this.
It escalated faster than we should have done. Everything we did was wrong.
The viewer may have clicked for the result, but now they're compelled to stay for the journey. Videos that best keep attention are always created with the awareness that once a viewer is no longer curious, they're no longer gonna keep watching. So you gotta make sure the payoff happens after you've provided the value that you want the viewer to have. Even if there are multiple payoffs in the video, like a listicle, for instance. Let's say top 5 worst movies of 2023. Charlie did one, okay. You wouldn't say the top 5 worst movies of 2023 are Ant-Man, Aquaman, Winnie the Pooh, The Nun 2, and that new Exorcist movie. Now let me explain why. No, you would do what Charlie did, and you'd give yourself space to add value before every payoff. Understanding a video's promise and payoff are essential in knowing how to maintain the viewer's attention, which is why when I simplified YouTube for myself, I named focus number 2, keep attention. Now, even if you understand these two things, get attention and keep attention, it still might not work out if your edits aren't engaging enough. So check out this video to level up your editing game. It'll pay off. I promise.